let me tell you a little bit about Aditi, right? So she studied at National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, a designer, right? Then she's also done theater design, right, at UK, an executive educational alumnus of the Indian School of Business, ISB Hyderabad, again, a prestigious institute, and 30 years of experience in the industry. Like I can imagine she passed out of NID in 1990, and that is the same year when I was born. So the world has changed. There was a world, when there was no cell phones, there were a lot of artisans around, and today there's a world where artists are difficult to find. So Aditi has a lot of experience, and that is what her talk is going to talk about. What is the evolving function of design in a post-pandemic world, and the urgency to adopt a systematic approach that addresses the impact of our design on the society and environment. So you guys must be feeling, right? We are talking about circular economy. We are talking about post-pandemic world. Easy to talk, but Aditi is not like that. Aditi is someone who has walked this path. And why do I say that? So she is the co-founder of The Rare Earth. The interesting fact about The Rare Earth is the principle it runs on, right? Which is people, planet, and prosperity. So yesterday I was having a discussion with Aditi where she told me that, it was people, planet, and profit, but now it is people, planet, and prosperity. Look at the way it has changed, right? Changing something where that profit is something which can be misguiding. It is changed to prosperity. So Aditi, we are glad to have you here, and I will hand over the mic to you. But before we do that, can we have the poll for our attendees so that we know that who are we talking to? Are they students? Are they designers? Can we have the poll, please? Amazing. We have 63% of students, which means we are getting a lot of questions today. So guys, throughout the talk, wherever you feel that, you have a question, click on Q&A. So it's the first from the right. Just shoot a question and we'll try to answer that. Aditi, I think it's time you can start presenting your presentation for us today, and looking forward to it. Over to you, Aditi.
Thank you, Sahil, and thank you for making me realize that I graduated the year you were born. So, so that is something that just struck me. But thank you, ADI, for having me over for this conversation, for this talk, and it's really an honor and a privilege to address all of you students and the design community. And the good thing about having this presentation today is somewhere. There was Namisha on day 2 who made us uncomfortable. And then there was Suresh who left us with a lot of questions. And they have sort of laid the foundation for my talk today. Because here in my talk, we are going to explore what it is like to live in a way where we can continue to exist on planet Earth where our survival is actually being threatened right now. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and I'm going to start my presentation. Can you see my screen?
Perfect, Aditi. We can see your screen.
Right. So I will begin my talk then in that case. So, what is it that this pandemic has done to all of us? I mean, it was in a way a disaster that was waiting to happen, isn't it? Because of climate change and natural disasters, rising ocean level, forest fires, a lot of environmental degradation that is happening due to human activity. This is a time also which has, led us to reflect, question our assumptions, our belief systems, and also made us realize that actually we can survive with far less than we thought we could, that we have been leading unsustainable lifestyles, and we cannot continue on the same trajectory. And if we have to survive on this planet, something needs to change, something needs to shift. So, what is it that we need to do? I mean, we need to really bring about a radical shift in the way we produce and consume. And we need to work towards building a society that is aligned and with nature, which is restorative, regenerative, and in balance with nature. Now, traditionally, how have we all been living? I mean, how do we live? We live in a way where, we take, we make, we use, and we waste. It's a use and throw kind of a lifestyle that we have. And this is the way, this is what is actually led us to all this trouble. We have products which have been designed for redundancy. They generate a continuous demand from customers to drive more businesses and more profits. We are consuming and producing in a way where we are generating so much waste that it is finding way into landfills. It is polluting our air and our water bodies. It is poisoning the earth, the other species on the earth, and entire communities, even of our own species, the human race. And some examples of this are, for example, our smartphones, which we use and throw, our home appliances, which actually become redundant before even the warranty period is over. The fast fashion, which we just wear and we chuck, the synthetics, the disposables, the plastic packaging, all of it. These are very, very unsustainable ways of living. And if we have to do something to make a shift, what is it that we as designers need to do differently? So today's talk is actually about that what should we as designers do differently so that we can transition to a way of living which is more sustainable for our survival on this planet. So essentially, the way we have been living, the use and throw model, is what we call linear economy. Now, from that, we need to transition to what is called a circular economy. And I've shared this slide, which is actually from Finding Purpose, because this is a very, very apt slide. So in the linear design economy model, we take, we make, we use, and we waste, we just chuck. Whereas the circular design economy, the circular design system, is a closed loop system. So what are we doing? We are creating systems where we are minimizing the waste, we are minimizing the pollution, and we are finding ways to constantly use and reuse materials and resources. And we are going here, actually we are going beyond what is a user-centric approach about what users want. We are going beyond that. We are going to what is a more systemic approach. And we are addressing the needs not just of the users, but the entire system within which our design is created and will be used. So we're looking at the society and the environment as well in circular economy. We're trying to understand the impact of our designs on the stakeholders and on the environment, and what it does, it builds in feedback loops. So at every point of time when we put our design into the market, before we put and after we put, there are feedback loops which tell us what are the unintended consequences of our design decisions and what do we need to do to mitigate those if they are harmful to the society or to the environment. So now, if we are transitioning from a linear economy to a circular economy, actually design has a very, very central and a pivotal role to play, because design is at the very center of a transition to a circular economy. What does that demand of us as designers? It demands that we become more aware, more mindful and intentional and accountable for what we are designing and putting out into the world. We need to create products, services, and systems that not only fulfill people's needs and improve people's lives, but they protect, preserve, restore, and regenerate the environment. We need to reduce social inequalities and build resilient communities. What does the circular economy do? As you can see from this diagram, you can see that it is very much a closed loop system. So the design cycle follows a reuse and a recycle reloop. The The resources and materials, they are recycled, recycled, upcycled. And what happens to the products? What happens to the, they are repaired, restored, reused, redesigned, regenerated, and at the end, when you can't do anything else with them, they're recycled. So the key here is to actually make the entire system more circular, where what we are doing is we are ensuring that while fulfilling users' needs, we are not causing any environmental socioeconomic harm and contributing positively to human health and the planet health. So what is it that we are looking at when we design for a circular economy? What are the parameters, what are the guidelines? So we need to, for example, design products which are keeping in mind an enduring aesthetic appeal, emotional connect, and a quality, high functionality and extended durability of the products. We need to ensure that they can be assembled and disassembled and they lend themselves to multiple use. And products which are produced in a way from non-toxic, organic, biodegradable, recyclable materials, which have a zero waste or a minimal carbon footprint. We try to reduce the extraction of virgin material, optimize the economic potential of materials and resources, and try to reduce waste and actually also use waste as a resource. And while we do that, when we are doing that, how do we produce these products? We try to use renewable energy like wind, solar, biogas, wherever possible, and try to minimize the use of fossil fuels. And we need to build in, the restoration and regeneration of natural systems like water, for example, or energy that we use. We need to be engaging with local and marginalized and disadvantaged communities and following safe, efficient, sustainable, and ethical business practices. So these are products you actually want to use for a long time, possibly the entire lifetime. And you want to extend the user life through good care, repair, regeneration, and refurbishment. We want to have products which can be shared amongst multiple users over its lifetime by handing down, by lending, by borrowing, by swapping. They can be passed on to new users by donating, by renting, and secondhand sale. And once we have done all of that, we should be able to redesign them and repurpose them to give their materials and components a new life, or recycle them and reuse them for manufacturing new products. And at the end, we should be able to compost them so that they become bionutrients for plants and other living organisms in the natural ecosystem. One sec, sorry. So what is it that, if I had to give some examples of circular design which are existing in the industry, for example, there are a lot of companies. One of the principles of circular economy is that sells services rather than products. So for example, there are companies which are like Philips, and Philips as one of their, in one of the projects, what they did was they have rented out the lights to their client. So the client has not bought the lights, and the lights are maintained and serviced by the manufacturer over a period of time with the entire contract period, and they're also repaired and they're replaced. And when they're no longer needed, they are actually taken back by the seller. We also have systems that are in countries like Netherlands, where they have cycles which are rented out. So people need not need to buy cycles. They can be delivered cycles, which they can be booking on an app anywhere in the country, and it can be delivered. And again, they are repaired, again, they are serviced, and they can be returned at the end of the contract period for a fee. Similarly, what is Airbnb? Airbnb or our time sharing. These are also models where we sell services, where we service property. So instead of buying property, people are renting out property. There are even, there is a model, in fact, for children's shoes, which are made from leather waste. And since children outgrow the sizes very fast, this particular company has designed a modular shoe whose parts can be taken apart and it can be repaired. And they're again rented out to children for a specific period of time.
Aditi, I think you need to shift your slide. It's kind of, yeah, it's perfect now. We are on the future
okay.
of, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So other example, for example, when we look at services which are like online streaming platforms, like Netflix or music applications that we are having, Spotify and other music applications, what are they doing? They have taken away the need for a movie DVD or a music CD. So these are digital products which are being sold instead of physical products. So here you're removing the entire physical product from the system. So you are reducing the cost and you're also reducing material consumption. So, and at the same time, you're giving much more flexibility to the person who is paying for that particular digital product. The other example would be flexible and modular systems that lend themselves to multiple combinations of assemblage, disassemblage, use, repair, and replacement. There's a company which is actually manufacturing phones. Now, all of us have phones which we end up discarding either when they stop working or when a new model comes into the market because we find we're not able to upgrade them. So this particular company is actually running tutorials for the clients as to how to repair their own mobile phone, and they are providing spare parts, and they also buy back the mobile phone when it is when the customer doesn't want it, and they offer the next model at a far more discounted price. Furniture systems, for example, can be modular. We can have fashion products even, which can be designed for multiple use, which are modular construction, and you can have a flexible way of using them, so you can have a variety in the way you use them. We can also make lifestyle products from leftover or upcycled waste. Now, what you see on the screen here are both made from fabric waste and handmade paper waste, and nature's waste, which is found on a forest floor, for example. And these have been repurposed and upcycled into products which are, being used by us as lifestyle products. Then there is a company, for example, there is an Indian architect who has come up with a invention, which is bricks, which are made from plastic waste. He collects this plastic waste from the waterways, and he casts them into bricks, which are like Lego blocks, and they can be used in a modular systems, and these are being used in slums. Now, even to make these bricks, he is providing employment to the people in the bastis. Similarly, there is a brand for organic fashion products, and where after they sell the product, they also offer to have the product back when it has been worn out, so that they can be recycling it and make new products from it. We have biodegradable carry bags. Lot of us now we are buying these biodegradable bags, which are essentially looking like plastic, but they're not actually plastic. They are bin bags, carry bags, which can be composted along with the waste. There's also protective packaging being made from recycled crop waste, and even single-use edible cutlery instead of the disposable plastic cutlery, which is made from plant sources. So these are some of the examples that we do have in the market. So people are doing it, and it can be done. From here, I will move to our own work at the Rare Earth. As Sahil explained to you, we are a social eco enterprise, and we work on the guiding principles of people, planet, and prosperity. This entire thing about, it used to be people, planet, and profit till a point of time when I think one realized that profit does not necessarily mean prosperity, because sometimes profit is achieved at the cost of something where it is a very high cost to pay. So prosperity is the right word, and profit has to make way for prosperity, which is a more balanced approach. So at Rare Earth, essentially, what we do is we work in two areas. One is artisan livelihoods, and the other is cause marketing. So we work towards the generation of sustainable, ethical, and equitable artisan livelihoods. And this is in the form of design projects or consultancy assignments, which could be about strategic business planning, monitoring and evaluation across sectors. And India has a very large population which is engaged in this artisan sector, second only to agriculture. And this is one sector which is also naturally aligned with the principles of circular economy. So if there is a time now, it is now, where we need to become even more present to the need to shift to handmade products to the extent possible. Apart from the fact that these are beautiful products which are aligned with the principles of circular economy, these are also products which will help generate livelihoods for our artisan communities. So to share some of our work, I mean, this is some of the designs that I would like to share here. This is, for example, a design of handloom sari, Gadwal, which is a cotton silk sari. And these have been designed as a part of a CSR project by Microsoft. And these saris have been created using chemical dyes, but these are what are called ISO-free chemical dyes, which have a minimal harmful effect on the environment. And these are also dyes which would be produced where a ETP would be in place, effluent treatment plant would be in place. So these are saris which have been produced for handloom weavers. Then these, for examples, are examples of handcrafted textiles which have been designed for Fab India. One of them is an applique design. Applique is a hand embroidery technique. And the other is a block printed cotton yardage. And both of them have been made using natural dyes. Now, this particular, I would really like to dwell upon this particular assignment of ours, because this is so much aligned with the principles of a circular economy. Now, this is for a client who wanted us to design a product which is a gift that could be given. It's a maternity hospital. So they wanted to give a gift to the newborn baby when the baby is discharged from the hospital. And they'd asked us to design a product. And we came up with this idea of a handmade paper photo frame. Then we were told that we also should be designing packaging for that. So they would want to package this frame and gift it to the child. At which point we came up with the idea that why not the packaging also be designed as a product? And everybody acknowledges a newborn baby. How many people acknowledge the mother who's been through so much to give birth to the baby? So the packaging that we designed was designed as a patwa. It is made from natural jute with Zardosi hand embroidery. Now, let me go a step beyond. Now, what is again so special, and our class was very much aligned to our way of working. The handmade paper frame has been made by women who reside in bastis in Hyderabad. And it provided employment for something like 5 to 6 women. This was an order for the entire year. So it provided employment for 5 to 6 women for the entire year. Zardosi Batwa was embroidered and stitched by women who work with an NGO. These are Muslim women who work with an NGO in the old city of Hyderabad. And it generated employment for about 11 to 12 Zardosi artisans and tailors. And one of the most striking of these women was a young girl who was a young Muslim girl, very keen to study, but who was barred from studying by her parents, specifically a brother and her father, who felt that she should be getting married instead of studying. And she used her earnings from the entire year to fund her own education and her books for college. So these are the sort of things which are very close to our heart, because we fulfilled a user's need. We gave them a product that they loved and they're very happy with. We created the product from natural, eco-friendly materials which do not cause harm to the environment. And while doing so, we generated employment for communities who are marginalized and who got continuous employment for a certain period of time, through which is the period of the order. What we also do over and above that is we create customized and bespoken cause marketing products, which we use to fulfill the promotional needs of our clients. What you see on the left is a conference bag, and the theme here is collective action for conserving the common resources of the earth. So what you see is a planet Earth, which is the globe. And in that you see the flora and the fauna, and it is surrounded by human beings who formed a chain to protect the planet. Now, somewhere this also doubles up as the sun shining bright. So the theme here has been converted into an artwork, and 3 options were given to the client, all of them from eco-friendly material. One was a canvas cotton bag. The second was a bag made from jute and cotton mix. And the third was actually a recycled bag, a bag made from recycled textile waste. And the client liked the third one the most, for the obvious reasons. The second product is from a series that we conceptualized in-house called the plug-in series. And it is about plugging in to sources of renewable and natural energy. So this is a T-shirt which talks about going solar, using solar energy. After this, these are promotional products for eco-tourism, hospitality industry, which is talking about how we need to be very responsible in the way we interact with the ecosystem, with nature, and we need to put our green foot forward and live in harmony with other species. What you see on the right is a bag which has paws of different species. One is a tiger paw, the other is a bird paw, and the third is a human paw. So it is essentially about living together in harmony. And on the left is a T-shirt designed for children, which again is talking about living in harmony with nature, with the birds, with the butterflies, with the flowers, and the trees. This is a third one. This is again from the plug-in series. These are ceramic cups, which were again designed. And the main theme is plugging in to renewable energy. So one is about plugging in to wind energy, and the other is about plugging in to solar energy. So over and about this, so these are some examples of products that we have designed. Now, before I move on to the question and answers, I want to share something else which I have been doing right now. For example, at this moment, during the pandemic, I got involved as a volunteer with a movement called Creative Dignity. And Creative Dignity is a movement which is a pan-India movement, completely volunteer, 100% volunteer movement, which has come into motion to revive and rejuvenate and restore the artisan ecosystem. Because during the pandemic, one of the things we found is that our artisan communities are literally struggling for their survival. So what this movement seeks to do is, the initial stage where of course was about relief. So funds were given to the artisan community members and rations were given to them. And the second stage is where I stepped in, and this is the stage for rehabilitation, where we wanted to try and help them sell their products. So we started creating digital catalogs, which could be shared by the artisans online with potential or existing buyers. So this is all, and this is about digital inclusion, in fact, isn't it? So it's about onboarding them on e-commerce and enabling them to sell the products which they would have otherwise sold through exhibitions or say through wholesalers and retailers, trying to equip them to be able to sell them online. So we created these digital catalogs, but by doing so, we also realized one thing, that somewhere we were still creating a sort of a dependence on us as designers, where the artisans would need us to create their catalogs for them. So what did we do? we decided to give them skill enhancement trainings. We gave them a training in photography, and these are, okay, so I work for the AP and Telangana State Hub. So we work with weavers and artisans of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So we give them photography trainings, photography using their own smartphones, mind you, not a fancy camera, where they could shoot and edit and share their own photographs. These trainings were conducted in Telugu and English, so bilingual language trainings. And after that, we trained them to create their own catalogs using Google Slide or Microsoft PPT, again using their own smartphones, because they don't have the money to buy a computer, most of them. So they can create their own catalog, update them, and share them entirely from their smartphones. What does this do? One, it gives them immense amount of confidence, the fact that they can shoot their own products and they can create their own catalogs. It also reduces their dependence on photographers and designers. So there is also, apart from confidence, there's a cost saving here, right? And it is also in a way, feeling that one is self-reliant. And when you don't need a computer, when you don't need to hire a designer or a photographer, what one is also doing is saving money, conserving financial resources. And the third thing, the beauty of doing something which is about digital inclusion and about photography on a smartphone and creating catalogs on a smartphone is that we managed to get the younger generation of the artisans interested in the entire exercise, which is something that we all want to do, and we find it difficult otherwise, because most of the time the younger generation say that they do not want to join their parents' profession. But here, what one is also trying is to make them present to the market and the business potential of their crafts and take it up as a viable business activity. So this is something that is what I'm doing right now, as I'm engaged with right now. This is something that is very close to my heart. And it has brought together volunteers from all the country, and who are all very excited and very charged. So one thing this has also told me is that people are very keen to give back. They just want an opportunity. They just want a chance where they can give back to the society. So my parting statement to all of you as students would also be that over and above the work that we do as designers and as professionals, can each one of us also identify something which is very close to our heart and find a way to give back to society in a way which is not transactional, but where you're just giving for the sheer joy of giving. And if we can do that, even that can help the world become a much better and a kinder place to live in. So that's it from me for now. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aditi. This was amazing. Like, I have learned a lot from this session. And when I look at such topics, and when I hear about such things, I feel I live in a very very different world. Like when I'm doing UI UX, when I'm designing for corporate, when I'm doing enterprise UX, there is no concept. Like, this is for the first time I realized that yes, screen based services can be there, which actually helps you in circular economy. So this is something very new, which I just realized. So we have a lot of questions coming in, Aditi, and I really don't want people to ask a lot of questions, because I myself have a lot of questions for Aditi. So it's your chance. You want to ask it, otherwise I have a lot of questions. So Aditi, the first question I have, and it is an anonymous attendee, but it'll help all of us. So he or she says, are services Netflix and Spotify really providing their services sustainably? The user cannot use these services without a hardware product. So basically, isn't the only shift has been from CDs to phone or laptop? I think it's a very interesting question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so we are not talking about making everything redundant out here. It's a relative thing. We're talking about a transition. So what technology has thrown up for us now is a way to shift from a physical offering to a digital offering. So the fact still remains that we have managed to take away DVDs and video cassettes and music cassettes, LPs, CDs, all of that from the system. So you are using lesser resources to make. There will come a time when we'll be able to project these on our walls, right? The world is working towards it. So we will not need hardware to even project them. One is getting there. So these are steps in that direction. So whether or not it is sustainable, it is moving towards sustainability. These are strategies which are moving towards consuming lesser resources, lesser materials in the world while fulfilling users' needs.
So I think that answers the question, Aditi, but I would also like to add into this that if I look at the question, right? So we are not replacing CDs to phones. You already have a phone, right? So imagine a world, where there was no Netflix. So you will buy a CD, you will then buy a CD player as well, right? So imagine a rickshawala having a phone, right? He does not have a CD player, he does not have a computer, right? So today he can still, enjoy the service Netflix, right? And also understand this, that because of Netflix, now I can enjoy a lot of movies at a very substantial cost, because I think share is
Absolutely.
the keyword we are talking here, right, Aditi? Like,
We're also talking inclusivity, actually. These are more inclusive ways of doing things.
yes. So the moment we say that, shared services, like looking at services model is all about share, which means that we all share the cost and we all share the resources as well. So this goes back to our discussion, Aditi, I guess, where we said that, in fact, I have never looked at sharing from the point of circular economy. So that I think that answers the question for our anonymous attendee. I'll move to the next question, which I also want to know. What is azo-free dyes?
Okay, azo-free dyes, actually, there are certain, in chemical dyes there are different types of chemical dyes. And azo-free dyes are, so earlier on, the dyes which we were using were harmful to the skin, harmful to the environment. And these are dyes like direct dyes or, the pigment dyes and all, which are very harmful to the skin, harmful to the environment also, because when they are let out into in the system, they create pollution and waste, like one of the slides that you saw in my presentation. Azo-free dyes are free of that particular harmful chemical. So they are relatively leaving less residue in the environment, and the residue that they leave can also be treated. So we have certain types of dyes, for example, in cotton that we call the VAT dyes. So a lot of in the textile industry, that if you want to use VAT chemical dyes, then azo-free dyes are the go-to thing, right? Apart from natural dyes, of course, but then everybody cannot be using natural dyes. Even making natural dyes for the whole human population would be very unsustainable. So we will have to use a combination of chemical and natural dyes, and azo-free are the safer chemical dyes.
I think this takes me back to my stint at NID, and I remember going back to these artisans, and that's where I actually saw these dyes being made, and it's a wonderful process. So if you ever get a chance, guys, to visit these artisans, please do. They are very humble. They show you each and every process in detail, and you will love it. So we have an amazing question from Ishwari Malani. So she says, I have often seen that eco-friendly designs are mostly costly than the normal design. And again, this ties to the circular economy versus made in China. Because they are mostly handmades and not machine made. How do we convince buyers to buy something eco-friendly rather than buying something which is cheaper and not sustainable?
It's a long drawn battle that I'm still fighting, for example. Because buyers, by and large, unless they are informed buyers, and very few of us, and if you were to look, barely 10% of buyers or clients are what you would call informed and sensitive people who are aligned to these things, at least in my own practice. Because most buyers want something that comes cheap and costs the least. So I've had to say no to work, for example, where I've been asked to design a conference bag using a cheaper substitute of a natural material, which is a synthetic material. And because that brings down the cost, and I've had to say no to that work. So this is a process of constant dialogue, and it's also a process of creating awareness, because buyers need to be informed. Buyers also need to be, actually, frankly, buyers also need to be incentivized or penalized. I think manufacturers need to be, for example, made responsible for the waste they're putting out into the system. And buyers need to be present about what they're ordering, whether it is something that will harm the environment or not, or whether it is supporting communities or not. Slowly, there is an awareness that is coming about, but we also have to contribute to creating and generating that awareness in the way we interact with them.
That's a perfect answer, Aditi. And also as a designer, I feel that, what if we give them such a branding that we don't actually have to sell it, as a barter system, or by saying that, it is eco-friendly, or, this is some kind of a different product. Why can't we just have them as products, right? There are brands who are selling purses for 50,000 rupees. Artisans are not making it better than that. So as a designer, we have to devise these models, right? We have to create a brand value for it. And this should just be a practice that, this is how I do business.
And this should also be a way of life, because if at all, I think this is what the pandemic has made us all realize, isn't it? That we cannot continue to live the same way as we have been living. We cannot go back to normal. We have to redefine a new normal. I mean, if you're living in Hyderabad, for example, very recently, we had a complete flooding of Hyderabad due to torrential rains. And what happened? Our cities were flooded because we've blocked the waterways. We've blocked the ways for water to drain out. We've encroached upon land and water resources, water bodies. And the city was flooded. So are these sustainable ways of living? And how much are we going to produce and use and throw out into the system? What happens to that waste? We have to stop. I'll give a very simple example. In my own building, I live on the 7th floor. When I walk down the stairs, I see 3 washing machines which have been discarded. And all these washing machines look perfectly fine, but they have been discarded because the manufacturer has stopped making the one component that is needed. So one spare part, which is less than a cost of 3,000 to 5,000 rupees, which they should have provided to the customer, has not been provided. And those washing machines are lying there in a corridor. They will eventually make their way to a landfill because the company is not going to take responsibility for them. And what it has also done is burned a deep hole in the pocket of the consumers. So the consumers have had to buy a new washing machine. And the old washing machine is lying there. Instead, why can't we have manufacturers, sellers being responsible for what they are selling and for repairing them, for restoring them, for recycling them? We need to do that. That needs to become a practice and a norm. I mean, we no longer have the luxury to do this as an idealistic utopian way. This has to become a way of life.
So Aditi, looking at this example, I feel that the industry will also have to realize this. We as a designer can definitely, I think, make an impact, right? But how has your experience been with the industry? Where do you feel that, and there are a couple of questions, which are in line with that. Can you give some examples of current products that, follow circular economy, or, how handmade commodities, can fall in circular economy, or can they not fall in circular economy? So when you look at the whole design ecosystem and the industries in general, where do you feel we can start?
We have to start with ourselves, isn't it? We also have to start with engaging with our buyers and informing our buyers. First of all, we need to align ourselves. So we have to become aware, we have to become conscious, we have to become mindful, intentional about whatever it is that we are producing and bringing out, creating for the society. And so many, I think The design is at a very, it's at a very strategically placed in the value system. It's in the middle of the value system. Okay, it is right in the middle of the value systems. We have the raw materials, the producers at the back end, and we have the markets at the front end. So we are actually in a position where we can influence both. We can influence the choice of raw materials, we can influence the way things are made, and we can also influence the way things are handed down to consumers and how they are consumed by the markets. So we are in a position where we can do that. So I think it has to begin with an awareness at our own end. So we, there was a very lovely question that Namisha raised. She said, why do we have to design so much? And that is one thing I also believe. Why do you have to design so much? Why do you have to continue to design and design and design? And our model, for example, we do not have a label. We do not have a label that we sell to buyers. We do customized, bespoke orders. So if a client wants a certain product, we create a product which is customized for them, and we produce it in the desired quantity only to order. Because anything else, and our concepts are made digitally. So digitally, they are shared with the buyer that, okay, this is what we can do. And of course, we have presentations. And when the product is selected, of course, we'll make a prototype also. We do not have inventory. We don't have product inventory. We don't keep that. Because even before this entire concept of circularity was given an articulation, my entire logic was, why do you have to waste so much? Why do you have to make products which are just, why can't we make what the client wants in a customized way? You're actually giving a more personalized service. So we do only that. We don't do a label. We don't do a label where we will have to end up with unsolds and then figure out what to do with them and either throw them or put them at a discount or, no, we don't do that.
I think that's an amazing way of thinking. I've never thought that, there is also the concept of a lot of unsold inventory, which now I think that, that's a lot of stuff, a lot of waste. Because when I look at fashion industry, one of the major polluting industry, and
absolutely
the shift of fashion.
And there are manufacturers in the fast fashion industry when they have unsold, and that instead of donating those unsolds, or when they're not able to get rid of them even at discounts, they actually burn their entire collections because they don't want their collections just being given away for free. So these are burnt or sent to landfills. And these are brand new clothes. I mean, these are the things that governments need to penalize.
Yes. So there are two questions, I think, which we can cover very quickly. So one is that, does just speculation about circular economy help in any way? Isn't some practical, experience much needed? If so, how can we work on it from home? So Aditi will definitely answer this, but one thing which I can add to it before that is, even if we can start consuming less, I think that's a good start from home.
Absolutely. I'm not sure I understand the question, because if what I've tried to do is show very practical ways where there are circular products and services already being made. So I'm not sure I understand the question, but as you rightly pointed out, the traditional way of living in India has always been circular, frankly. The way it has been handed down generation, it has always been circular. Now, right now we wear clothes which we discard after a while. I grew up in a time where clothes were handed down within the family. I wore clothes from my older cousins, and my clothes were also, those clothes were also handed down to cousins younger than me, right? And we would repair our clothes, we would sew our clothes. Now, just the other day, I took a very beautiful bed sheet which had a tear, and I did a ruffle with my own hands. And I did a ruffle in a contrast color, contrast thread, so it became a design element. And I did this with my own hands. So of course we can do these things. And I'll give a very, very beautiful example of circular economy, or economy, if you can call it that. I grew up seeing both my grandmothers, at the end of the meal, they would wash their hands in their thali, And then they would clean up, of course, they would first eat up the food. The unspoken rule was you don't waste food. But even so, after they finish their food, there would be some food morsels or some dal or something stuck on the plate, right? So they would pour water with their hands, they would wash their hands, and they would clean that entire plate with their hand and drink up that water. What were they doing? One, they were ensuring absolutely no food is wasted. Two, they were ensuring effort of the person who's going to wash the dishes is less because they've already rinsed it with water, so to speak. Third, they have also conserved water because they have rinsed the plate, drunk up the water. So the water that will be used to wash the plate, the effort and the consumption of water as a resource, both have been reduced. So this is also in a way a principle of circular economy.
Beautiful. These are beautiful examples.
And in my community, I'm from Gujarat. Traditionally, rotis which were made during the day were roasted in the evening into khakras to be consumed the next day for breakfast. So when you're roasting it, you're removing the moisture. So that allows the roti to stay overnight in the khakra form, and it can be consumed the next day for breakfast. What were quilts, for example, old saris, old bed sheets were taken and cut, they were patched together and hand sewn to create quilts, what we used to call godris. Of course, today we have quilts like Jaipur quilts and other quilts which are made from fresh material. But kanthas of Bengal, quilts, godris of Gujarat, and a lot of other textiles were traditionally made from waste textiles which were used in the family. And because we didn't want to throw them away, they would be layered and stitched where they could become a covering for the body. So these are frankly all circular strategies, circular ways of living which are inbuilt into our way of life. We need not look beyond. We just have to, I think, look back and see what have we lost along the way. I don't mean to sound, like an oldie trying to tell young people what to do. But I was fortunate to see how my grandparents, lived. I was fortunate to see how my parents' generation lived. So somewhere I think I would tell the young generation, you need to go back, you need to see what are the things that we used to do and which we have lost, and how can we bring them back, not out of nostalgia, but because these are the more practical and pragmatic ways to live. Yeah.
So, Aditi, there are a lot of questions coming, and people are actually, sharing their experiences. So there is something I would like to, share. So, Aditi, it's been addressed to you. So this is from Sangeeta. She says, during pandemic, we relaunched our brand called Soft Story, which has used excess unsold stock of artisans and their defective materials into soft furnishings with a difference by repurposing, upcycling the material thus procured. Our process is to help them unblock their funds too in the process. So this is the example. We have a lot of people amongst ourselves there, who are doing this. So great work, Sangeeta, and definitely Aditi has got your contact and email ID. So I wish there will be synergy. And also, Aditi, we don't have much time, but I want you to take these couple of minutes to tell more about the purpose for which you're volunteering, so that more people can join it. What are the ways we can engage, right? Because people are talking about how we can connect from home.
We are all working from home, by the way. All of us are volunteering from home. Everybody, I haven't met any of the people who are part of my team ever since we started working, because we are all working from our own desks. Okay, some of them have started going to office. I operate from a home office, but we connect through our computers. And we have connected with people across the country who we would have never met otherwise. And these are designers, people who are, who are NGOs and artisans and entrepreneurs. All of us have come together. Now, the name of the movement that I'm talking about is Creative Dignity. I would request you to go on to Facebook and look at go on and look at the website, www.creativedignity.org. And Creative Dignity also has a Facebook page. So go on to that, and there is, in that website, you will find a place where you can have an expression of interest to volunteer, and you can get in touch. And there are 28 state hubs across the country.
Wow.
So a person can volunteer whichever state hub that they want to. And they're most welcome to do that. We have student interns who are working with us as well. A lot of students are coming forward. And it is such a huge learning for them, because they are learning to engage with artisan communities and develop a very strong sense of empathy. Yesterday we were talking compassion, isn't it? So compassion, empathy, these are the qualities which are so important for a designer. I mean, they're absolutely important for any human being, but even more important for a designer when you want to create products, create services, understanding the user, while bearing in mind the impact on the environment and the society. So you can get in touch with Creator Dignity through the website or the Facebook page.
Super. Thank you so much, Aditi. And also, a lot of people are saying, Aditi, ma'am, can you give us your email ID so that we can connect? All you have to do is go on Google, write Aditi Shah Aman, and you will find her. That's the easiest way to find Aditi. Or you write the Rare Earth, you will find her. Or you go to Creative Dignity, you'll find her. So it's very easy to find Aditi. And I know Aditi, being that critique, she will, if you reach out to her, she will definitely give her time to you. She will definitely, answer your questions and, help you grow, as she has been helping all of us. So Aditi has been with us from last 3.5 years, 3 years, with ADI. And she has guided me personally a lot, right? I've learned a lot from her. And I feel that, when I'm going to run my organization or I'm going to do anything right now, I'm going to think that, how can I give back? So that's the biggest takeaway for me, and thank you so much, ADI. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aditi, for giving me this chance that, I can talk to all of these guys, put their points up, and, have a wonderful conversation with you. And guys, this is just the beginning, right? So Futurescape is just the beginning. We have a lot of events coming, and doing events has become so easy now because we have Zoom, right? Which was like half of us didn't even know about Zoom before pandemic. So there are definitely, very subtle, not so happily, talked about things which pandemic has brought to us, but this is one of them, right? We connect more frequently online. So if you want to follow us, go to our Facebook page, go to our Instagram. If you want to become a member, which you should, because there's a lot coming, go to adi.org.in. and we'll keep meeting, guys. So Anshu, over to you. Let's do a screenshot today with Aditi and all the panelists.
Shipra, you want to join in? Shipra, please join in.
Here we have the president of ADI Hyderabad. Hi, Shipra.
Done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shipra, you are on mute. Shipra, you are on mute.
You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I realized. Sorry.
Guys, have a great evening. See you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Aditi. Thank you, Sahil. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sahil.
Bye.
Thank you very much.